Are you ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon. Welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon, and you're listening to us on Broadway World or over here on the Broadway Podcast Network, iHeart, and Spotify. Our next guest, people say I'm busy. I'm not anywhere as busy as our next guest. He is a professor. He is an author. He is a motivational speaker. He has a podcast. He has a blog. He has a rapper. He has books out. I'm exhausted just talking and thinking about what our next guest does. A year ago, I moved to Detroit, Michigan, and I run an English department in an alternative high school out here in Detroit. And Detroit, one of the most segregated cities in the entire country and also adverse with poverty. And I've been trying all year in the best way to connect to students who grew up with different experiences than I do. And we owe it to the people of this country to stand up together so all people are free and equal and have the same opportunities. So when I read this next book and I see what our next guest is doing, I was always inspired. So we're not always about messy, good Broadway fun entertainment times. Sometimes we got to pull up to the dinner table and have a real conversation. Dr. Omékongo is here, and I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, congratulations. I mean it. You do a little bit of everything.
Well, they say when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work, So, my organization is called Upstander International, and we talk about being an upstander, not a bystander. So everything that I do, I'm just asking myself, is it something that's helping me stand up for others? So that might take the form of me being a professor. It might take the form of me making an album or writing a book. But as long as it's helping other people amplify their voices and working to help us find common ground, it's all the same to me.
I think it's amazing and wonderful. Your work on your own. I mean, you have over 1 million views from CNN. You won awards, different awards. People have asked you to speak all around the world. Literally, when did you realize that you needed to be of service? When was that calling for you?
Well, I realized at a young age, probably like around middle school, that I needed to be the type of person for others that I needed. Growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, we were beaten up and bullied a lot because of our names. Even though I'm born and raised in the States, we got so much bullying being of Congolese origin. And then we also didn't grow up with a lot of money. So they would call us names at school, throw rocks at us. And even we got it for some of our teachers. That led me, my parents were teaching us about the importance of understanding our history. But then when I discovered the work of Dr. Maya Angelou and Dr. Nikki Giovanni, it really helped inspire me. I started memorizing their poetry and sharing them places. And the way it uplifted me, it led me in middle school to start writing poetry, high school, to start sharing that with others. And the more I shared it in the communities, the less the bullying stopped. And I realized at a young age that I could be a bridge builder. And that led me down this path.
And what does it mean to be a trilingual? What are the trilingual poems? Like, what are the three?
Yeah, so I have 7 or 8 albums out and a book of poetry as well. And I do poetry in English, French, and Swahili. So my parents being Congolese, those are their official language. Somebody, French being the official language because it was former Belgian colony. And then, Swahili is one of the languages that's spoken there. So I grew up familiar with those languages. And so when I started doing the poetry, I realized I can communicate more with an international audience if I put in some translations.
Well, we can follow while we're talking. We're going to follow the doctor on Instagram. You can go, the links and everything are below, and you can also go to his website to find out more information, see examples of his poetry and all of the work. His book, his newest, there's a bunch of books. You have a bunch of books. His newest book, Lies About Black People, is out. How to Combat Racist Stereotypes and Why It Happens. Michael Eric Dyson, is pretty highfalutin forward there from a pretty amazing forward. The book is available wherever books are sold, so you make sure you can pick that up as well, and we'll get into that in a moment. I really love the idea that you use the different arts because it reaches a whole different audience sometimes than just doing a lecture or something that's university bound or educationally bound. How do you marry the scholarly part of your life and the academia part with trying to get the word out to people who maybe that doesn't resonate with?
Yeah. And also thanks for sharing the Instagram. Also youtube.com/Omékongo. Please check me out there. So for me, I was trained by one of the greatest motivational speakers ever, Les Brown. And one of the things that Les Brown used to say or always said is, don't let your message don't let less of me, more of we. And what he meant by that is that you always have to be mindful of the audience. He said, don't let what you want to say get caught up or misunderstood from what the audience needs to hear. So you talked about the school that you run with the English department. If I'm speaking in that type of audience, they may not want a 3-hour PowerPoint lecture from a class, so I can put the same message in a 3-minute rap. You have to be able to communicate with the people in the way that they receive the message. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I have a PhD. I've studied at Harvard and Princeton and all of that. But if I'm speaking, I may be speaking in a prison doing the work. They don't care. Or I may be speaking at a community center. They don't care. I may be speaking over in a refugee camp, literally like I have in places like Rwanda or Congo. You have to be able to meet people where they are. So that's why I've been able to do this in different ways, because at the end of the day, what matters is communicating the message with the people in front of you. And that's what I focus on.
So that's what I love. Yes, he really did. He really has all of those degrees, Harvard and Princeton and all and your and what is your doctorate in law? Is it law?
So I did my undergrad at Georgetown. I did my master's at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and I have a PhD from the University of Maryland in international education policy. I think you'll like this. My PhD is on Jay-Z.
I was going to ask you, your dissertation was on Jay-Z. How long was it, and how did you find all the? I have 2 master's degrees, and I fought hard to find resource. Oh God, please don't make me ever resource and cite anything ever again. How did you do a whole dissertation on Jay-Z?
Well, it's over 200 pages. And, Jay-Z was somebody I wasn't even a fan of, because I felt like I was going into schools and telling kids not to do the stuff he was rapping about, like don't sell drugs and so on and so forth. Then I heard one line from the Black Album, and it just started to change my perspective on him. And I realized my perspective on him was wrong. And so my dissertation is called, and I'd love to send it to you, it's called The Life and Rhymes of Jay-Z, Historical Biography. So it's really a study of Black youth post-civil rights movement to the election of the first Black president. And I'm using a hip-hop lens, telling that story through one person, Jay-Z, a man who was born on the same day Black Panther leader Fred Hampton was assassinated. To be born in that moment, to go up to the election of the first Black president, it's an incredible story that we ignore at our own expense. And I teach a class on him at American University.
I want to take the class.
Come through. Got it.
I want to take the class. I love this. I would love to read it, and I would love people to find out more information. That's why we got to go to the YouTube page and all of the stuff to get all the background and information. And if this is stuff that moves you, make sure you buy the books. The books are out and available as well. Do you think writing, see, I have ADD. So am I right? I can't sit down and look at that blinking cursor and editing a book and all of that. How do you work for people who want to write in the art form of writing? Are you a disciplined writer? Is it come in spurts? How does it come to you to write a book?
It's very interesting. My writing as an artist is different than my writing for a book. So one thing I learned from working with Dr. Dyson was that you have to, when you're writing, you have to do it every day. And some people need to block out 4 or 5 hours. He's like, nah, even if it's 15 minutes, you have to do something on it every day to keep the progress. And so as I'm working on that, I'm working on a new book right now called Trigger Words, which is looking at how people use terms like CRT and woke to keep us divided and how we can bring ourselves together. So I'm in the research mode, starting writing the chapters, but that's how I'm disciplined. So it could be 30 minutes, an hour. I try to do 30 minutes minimum, anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours a day to stay consistent. When I'm writing my poetry or my hip hop, I'll think about a poem or a rap for a very long time. But this is the truth, Robert. If I can't write it in less than an hour, I don't do it. So all of my albums, all of my songs, all of my poetry, if you've ever seen any of them, even like some of the longer 5-minute ones, I've usually written in less than an hour or in an hour or less, because I have to feel the vibe, like the energy has to hit me in the right spot. And I'll sit on something for years until it's time to write it.
Until it's the right time. That's real artist work right there. Oh, all right. I'm obsessed with this whole thing. Everything going on here. This is where it's at. So when I grew up in New Jersey, and you grew up in Boston, and in a lot of ways they're similar, East Coast, tough kind of gritty areas. I was right outside of New York City. And then a year ago, I moved to Detroit. I got married to my husband, who was a man of color, grew up gay, Black Detroiter. And his experiences and my experiences based on race and where I grew up and economics, et cetera, family, vastly different. Yeah. And we all are trying to communicate and come together as a society. We are very divided. There's a lot of crazy, crazy stuff going on. I see on your Instagram, and you're out here fighting the fight for us as a country, literally. It's crazy every day. So what is your message for the average citizen of this country right now? And what do you wish we knew or could understand about what's going on in the world?
If people could just, you talk about, your partner, like, just realize that when you describe you and your husband and like the differences, but there's something that brought you together. You found the common ground. You could have come from your background. He could have come from his background, have no reason to connect. Sexual orientation isn't enough to bring people together, but you came together and now you're a unit. And that's what I'm trying to get people to see, is that fine, we may have different politics, different sexual orientation, different religions, but at the end of the day, we all laugh in the same language. We all cry in the same language. If we can get each other to understand the basic humanity that each person deserves, we can start making progress. I saw this video that really hurt me so bad. And I'm sure you've seen a video like this before, where people have a kid being an experiment where someone will grab and snatch the kid in like broad daylight to see if anybody will do something. I recently saw one of those studies again, and the majority of the people who were in these videos did nothing when a kid got snatched up, right? So the inability, you don't even have to have your own kids. The inability for us to be able to see a child as our own, to feel the need to protect that individual. And I can run down the list, whether we're talking about things going on in Sudan, Congo, there's big conversations about Gaza and the like, or even things going on in the country now with these immigration raids. Like, our inability to see ourselves in the other person is why hate persists. The inability to see our child, our wife, our grandfather in the other person because they may look different, have different hair. That's why these problems persist. And so that's what I'm trying to do, working to get us to find common ground in uncommon times so we can build a community where everybody can be celebrated and not tolerated.
I can't say it better than that. I've seen it. I can't, when I was in New Jersey, my student population was all Hispanic, and they were first generation Americans, and their parents, many of them, came here as undocumented people who did not feel safe to come back to school night, who had to find work to try to pay for their families so their kids could go to school. The thought of these dreamers, these kids that may have not been born here, but were brought here at 1 year old, the way that we've treated them as a country is beyond. But we've been treating people in this country that way from its inception. Right. It's just, we don't always talk about it when it comes to people of color and people that are in power. So what can we do? What does the average person do now, doctor, about trying to be a part of the solution instead of the problem?
Well, first thing we have to do is educate ourselves, because I don't care how passionate you are. If you don't have the knowledge to get out there and do the work, you're going to be more of a problem than a solution. So I'm a big fan of acronyms. And one of them is that I love to give is LEAD. And the first thing, the L in LEAD, stands for listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We have to use them in proportion. Just commit to do more listening than you do talking. Sit down and ask people what's going on, as opposed to trying to tell them based on what you saw on some random network or some random person who's very ignorant but has 2 million followers, so you think that they need to be listened to. Just listen. Hear people's stories. The second step is E, is educate. You got to educate yourself on the issues. You got to learn to be a critical thinker, read different sources, read books are still important, right? Listening to important podcasts, YouTubers who have knowledge to educate yourself. Then you got to advocate, get out there and fight for something. There's lots of ways to fight. Everybody doesn't have to be on the front lines. Some are going to be frontliners. People are going to make phone calls. Some people are going to, if we're talking immigration, some are going to show up at an immigration hearing and be an advocate. Some people are going to be the social media people who share sources of information. And then you just got to decide. You got to understand that deciding not to decide is a decision. So you have to decide that for the rest of your life, you're going to continue to help other people in some way, shape, or form. What does having hope mean? HOPE, help one person every day. And Dr. King said, everybody can be great because everybody serve. We don't have to be Dr. King level. There's somebody who needs us right now. I mean, you're in a school with young people. I mean, every single day, the hope that you're providing just in that space, we can all do something. But most people do nothing. And that's part of the problem. So they'll never be an activist. They'll be an act as if they care. And that's part of the problem.
Oh, we don't go over these questions in advance, people, and he just whipped that out of his back pocket. That was pretty darn good. that was I love that, and I'm fascinated about in learning, and I'm going to talk about your book in a minute because I see it every day in my school, and my students tell me their experiences every day trying to fight the world around them and be a part of it, and the stereotypes that follow them, is that I can't tell that undocumented person what they should be like or what their life is like. I can't tell a person of color. I can't tell a Black man or woman in this country what their experiences are like and how they should be. I should be able to listen. Why don't we listen to each other and understand the experiences that you're coming from? I can't judge somebody else, and if I've never been in their shoes, I don't understand. We have a lot of talking heads who are trying to tell people what to do instead of listening and trying to understand and experience and what they're going through. I never will get it. Never.
Yeah. Well, it's like people say, they used to say, well, they always say, don't judge me till you've walked a mile in your shoes. But the part they leave off is in order to walk a mile in your shoes, you got someone else's shoes. You have to take your shoes off. Right. And a lot of us are too comfortable. We don't want to do that work. When you talk about the internet and these algorithms, Obama talked about in some ways with all of these news stations and streaming, we've kind of lost the monoculture and we're all getting the same type of information, even if some of the information wasn't great, but or skewed a particular way, we still had the same point of departure. Now most people go online, they don't go looking for information, they go looking for affirmation. It's about confirmation bias. And so if people are constantly putting on all sides of the spectrum, are constantly putting themselves in places where they only get what they want to hear, then there's no way that they're going to be able to see people on the same level as them. And that's part of the problem. And one of the best ways to do this work is that E word, it's exposure. Most people have changed their habits after they get exposed to a group. There's stories of a Black man, I forget his name. There's a Netflix documentary on him. His whole life is in about converting Klansmen, right? Like getting them to see that we're all human beings and all of that. It's just exposure, getting out and seeing. But if you're in your silo, you got, do you have your phone or does your phone have you? Same stories every day, same networks every day, same circle every day of people. You're never going to change. And once I started taking that venture out to see things beyond my neighborhood and the like, that's when the world opened up to me, and everybody deserves to have that.
Absolutely. We don't have to get our news from TikTok. It's please go find sources. Please go find various sources and read and do your research so that you can see those documentaries about the algorithm and how people are just inundated with the material that they see, and then there's no other alternate viewpoint, and they just embeds into your thought process. It's very scary.
That's right.
So stereotypes. So my students, and we're here in the new book, the newest book, Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racist Stereotypes. I love how you say you're trying to get beyond being anti-racist. Here in the Detroit public school system, they write their lessons under the lens of, we're not just trying to be anti-racist. We're trying to go beyond that to the next level of exposure. So when you talk about that, my students very early on, the best advice my partner gave me was, don't go in and be the savior. Go in there and listen to these kids. And I heard from them about being followed in stores and people not automatically believing that they steal or not giving them the opportunities. There's stereotypes everywhere to this day. What is the book about and how did it come about? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the book came out because I was thinking, this is so interesting, at least to me. I wanted to give more white people who are involved in Black Lives Matter protests an opportunity to go deeper than the marches. I felt like they were looking for something. So I went online and I said, hey, folks, just to my followers, like, what are some of the lies you've been told about Black people? And what's crazy, Robert, is that the majority of people who responded were Black people, talking about the lies they were told about themselves. And so this book became a book for all of us. So what I do in the book is I go into specific lies that have helped keep the Black community down in this country, and then I provide solutions to what we can do to change it. So I look into the stereotype of Black people aren't good with money, Black people are more prone to be criminals, Black people can't swim. I go down all of that list. Black people are artificial, and I look at artificial intelligence and how racist that is because the people who program it have racist ideas themselves. And so my point is we have to dissect all of that in order to fully understand. I have a chapter on your racialized vocabulary. If you notice, our vocabulary is always changing, but the people who are being talked about never really have a say in the term. So people are using terms like BIPOC. A lot of Black people haven't been consulted on that. Terms like Latinx, there's debate within the Latino community over whether that's the term. And I'm not the decider. I'm saying, you have to look at where you get your racialized vocabulary from, whether it's appropriate, whether it's antiquated, whether you're talking to the community. So we do a lot of that in the book. The book also has a lot of activities like for self-reflection, like you writing down all of the lies about Black people that you've heard and what you've done to counter it. And then I also infuse it with a lot of my poetry as well. Oh, and lastly, it has interviews from people of all backgrounds who are on their anti-racist journey, their pro-equity journey as well.
I need to go get the book, and you're going to get the book. Everyone listening is going to get the book as well.
Audio book as well.
Audio. That's a very hard activity to do, is to write things down because you feel like you're buying into that. It's, we did an experiment in my classroom years ago where someone came in and they talked about asking the students, what does a doctor look like? What gender? What race is a doctor? What gender, what race is a nurse? What gender and race is a judge, is a president? What gender and race is a prisoner? What gender and race? Yes. And it was students that were of that race and making the assumption and stereotype of themselves. That's right. That this is kind of their self-fulfilling prophecy of what society looks at. And we need to combat that. We really need to combat that. So what are some of the quick steps that we can start to do? Is there something that we can do to be less racist and more what you use the word better?
Yeah, pro-equity. Yeah, so no, like the last 5 chapters is all about solutions. So there are a lot, but I'll give you one. I want everybody listening to go home and do what I call the rule of 7. And it's basically ask yourself 7 questions to see how truly committed you are to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and building that beloved community that Dr. King talked about. Now, it has to be 7 because everybody can get away with like 2 or 3 and be like, oh, I'm committed. But 7, here are some examples. What do your 7 closest friends look like? What do your 7 closest neighbors look like? What do the last authors of the 7 books that you read look like? What do the 7 hosts of your top 7 podcasts look like? You got kids in your life, your own kid, right? Hopefully your Robert's on the list, right? You got kids in your life, nieces, nephews, grandchildren. What do the last 7 toys look like? Oh, do you watch TV? What does the cast of the last 7 shows you watch look like? You go to plays, Broadway, what's up, fam? What do the cast of the last 7 shows you went to look like? And the last one I'll give you, last 2, what do the 7 closest members of your congregation look like? And if you are in a position to hire people, what do your last 7 hires look like? You can make up your own questions. When I do this workshop, because I speak in schools, I want to come to your school. When I speak in corporations and churches and associations, and we do this test, some people, Robert, they start crying because they realize that after 1 or 2 questions, they haven't really been about this life. Whether it's having people of different races around them, sexual orientation, physical ability, like they just don't have to live it. And so that would be the first thing. Like I said, the book has tons of solutions, but everybody go home and look at that rule of 7, and you can start from there.
Ooh, you got my head thinking. Okay.
We all can't move tomorrow, right, from our home, but we can maybe start watching a different show or looking at a different author or look at some different toys for our kids. Like, we can do those things, but we're programmed to be like, I don't really have to, but I do believe in equality. You don't really do it if you're not practicing it.
I'm 100% with it. I love it. And I think, and I implore everybody that's watching to expand your horizon, even if it's one thing today and tomorrow. Turn on that new channel, watch that new news piece, or read a new book, or go see something that you would normally not see, just for the culture and to expand your own, and get rid of the stereotypes and learn about people. You know what? I reeled a stereotype. You were talking about your family. I don't mean to keep you longer, but your family. We had a teacher in my school this year who was of African descent, came here from Africa, from Uganda. And the amount of stereotypes and racist behavior language from everybody, no matter where they're from, is that something that lineage-wise in your family, your family's had to deal with in the past as well? If it's your name, if it's your people that you have come from, that's something that we are still really need to work on as a culture.
Oh yeah, and I have 3 kids, 19, 16, and 10, about to be 11 in October. And they've gotten it at times, being called monkey, and various types of things. And so it's still real, it's still happening. And me growing up in the hood in Boston, I primarily got it from Black people, because hurt people. And so these stereotypes are real. And to be quite honest, they're only getting worse in terms of the fact that so much history is being taken out of schools, what little history we were getting. So where are people going to learn about the beauty of Ugandan or Congolese culture, or people from India or Brazil, and so on and so forth? All they're going to have is their media bias from the internet that they see.
I went on ChatGPT and I told ChatGPT it was racist. I said it. I put that in I said, I think you're racist and you're biased. And
that's what's up.
It tried to defend itself, but nope, doctor, nope. I told it. I know you're giving me biased, racist information, ChatGPT. I know it.
Right.
So be careful out here with everybody, with the sources that you have and where you get your information, and listen to people's voices, a voice you can listen to right here. One day I'm making you come out to Detroit and you're going to talk to the teachers and to the staff here in Detroit Public Schools, because we need to continue doing the work that they've already started to do. And we need to do this work all around the country. And
one thing I released just this summer, I created a program called Reach. It's an online certificate program that deals with a lot of this stuff. And it stands for Resilient Educators Amplifying Children. People like you, so people can go online. They can go to my, upstanderinternational.com. And if they click on courses, they can start taking that course. It works for professional development. So some schools are going to be doing that, before I get out there. But again, check that out, because I think that could also be helpful for educators as well who are looking to do more.
That's amazing. We need that. That's perfect. I'm going to send that to the people in charge of around my district as well, so we can start spreading the word. We're gonna follow you as the unprofessional phone rings. See, that might have been the superintendent right there. See, let's go. Omékongo on Instagram is where we can find the information. The link is below, and also that's your website, and then your organization's website will be linked as well. I'm buying the book today. I can't wait to read it and reach out to you and tell you what I learned and what I'm going to implement this year in my everyday life. And I implore everybody to do the same. I'm going to make my list of 7. I think I'm going to do better than I think. I think I'm good. I think I got it.
That's what's up. I'm looking forward to. Can I share a quick poem before we wrap up? Or
I wasn't going to even ask you, because I was going to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, I'm always ready. This is a short one. I just like to end with some motivation for everybody. It's called Grow Towards Your Greatness. They say that greatness is a choice. But what have you chosen? You've been frozen in time and broken in mind. For too long, the same song playing in your head, living in breath, but better off dead. But who said that you didn't have the power? Who said this is not your hour? You've been showered with a steady stream of words that kill your dreams. But since you're still breathing, then someone has lied to you, tried to deny you of your own potential inside you. If you just decide to, let no one deride you. Don't even let them get beside you as you unearth the new you. Stop listening to naysayers and decide to do you. No more pity party sob stories and boo-hoos. If no one told you that you're great, then let me be the first to. If you develop the thirst to drink from Faith's fountain, you'll develop the might to move mountains. You see, we remove tons of dirt to find 1 ounce of gold. So I ask you to remove tons of hurt and just uncover 1 ounce of your soul. You'll set yourself on a true path of excellence, getting out of your passenger seat and driving your own car. Reaching for the moon, but maybe only landing among the stars. You see, you have greatness inside you, but you must choose to be great. Blaze a path of excellence, leaving fear in your wake. All you need is already inside you. You just must believe in yourself. Grow toward your greatness and discover your true wealth. Thank you.
Ooh, okay now. Somebody pass the hat. Let's go. We got that is gorgeous. We all need to be okay. That's it. That's what's up right there. I'm here for the whole experience. I can't wait to see what's next for you. I can't wait to see who you're speaking, what you're writing, what you're doing next. I'm going to write you offline, and I'm reading that dissertation about Jay-Z, and wow. We're all going to be reading the books and following the information. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and information and motivation for us today. It's really special to talk to you.
Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. Anytime.